ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Vermintide 2 career tier list, where we are going to rank the best careers and the worst careers in the game. And you might have seen other lists from other people. Mine's not really going to be like that, because there's going to be three deciding factors that are going to determine the final placement and rank of each career. And that is, number one, potential damage output. Damage is incredibly important. You need to kill things to survive. That's just how the game is. Number two, survivability. This includes things such as damage reduction, mobility, like stealth, invisibility, stuff like that. All is kind of lumped in under the label of survivability. And then third is team support. Does your character give temp health? Does your character kind of, can your character like dagger a monster? Or can it free a teammate? Something like that. So those are the three things that we're going to be looking at today. And without any further ado, let's begin. First on the list in D tier is Pyromancer. Now, hopefully this doesn't come as a surprise to too many of you, but yes, in my opinion, Pyromancer is the worst career in the game at this point. She gets high crit chance based off of her overcharge, which of course it sounds nice and all, but when you get down to it, Sienna doesn't exactly have too many great melee weapons, right? She's got the flaming flail, and that's kind of it in terms of like high difficulty scaling combat ability. She's got the dagger. Yes, the dagger's good, but it's got low reach. Not amazing against armor. She's a great career on legend and under, but when she move up into kata and beyond, she doesn't scale particularly well. On top of all that, she's got low health. She doesn't do much at all really for the team. She has poor survivability. She can get like 10% damage reduction. Whippy, that's not much. And even more, she has the absolute worst ult in the game. A flaming skull. It gives temp health, or you can get like multiple of them if you crit, which is cool, but like it doesn't even go where you want it to go. You have like a couple clan rats and a monster, and you aim right at the monster. Guess where it's gonna go? Oh, it's gonna take out all the clan rats next to you and not go where you want it to go. It kind of sucks. I'm sorry. Pyromancer is D tier. The good news is she's the only class I have in D tier. So now we're bumping up into C tier, and I have two classes in C tier. The first one is, where are you? Outcast Engineer. Now Outcast Engineer can do a bunch of damage, it's true. That's a great thing about him. But let's look at his survivability. He's got absolutely no mobility. He gets a little bit of damage reduction from a blade of armor, but it goes away when he gets hit. So it's not really that great. He doesn't really have a whole lot of survivability. He's got a little bit more than Pyro, but he's got absolutely no mobility. Of course, he doesn't have any kind of stealth or anything. He needs to be protected. He's very dependent on other people, making him not really the best. And outside of doing damage, what does he do for team support? Well, he can hold extra bombs, and that's about it. So while I think his damage can be impressive at times, especially when protected by somebody like a Footnight, I think he's lacking in several areas. Hence C tier. Also in C tier is Huntsman. It's a similar kind of situation with Huntsman. Huntsman can do a lot of damage. He's got more survivability than Outcast Engineer. He can go invisible. He gets more stacks of damage he gets more damage reduction rather, but again, he can lose it when he gets hit, which is not great. I think he might even have a harder time making it back, because Outcast Engineers, it just comes back naturally. Huntsman's, he has to kill things to get it back, so it's a little bit more difficult to get his back, but he does have that invisibility going for him. As for team support, he's got absolutely nothing outside of killing enemies. So I don't think either of these classes should ascend past C tier, based on the criteria that I have set forth. Now we're going to be moving on to B tier, and I will say, I guess to Fat Shark's credit, that the majority of the careers in this game are B tier and above, meaning that they're pretty good. You have a lot of variety and a lot of choice, and a lot of things that are going to work well. So let's get into it. First in B tier, I've got Slayer. Now Slayer can do some really good damage. He's got tons of fun weapons. He's a melee only class. Of course, he's got no range outside of the bomb that you're going to be carrying. He can get his ult back really quick. He can get a choice between boosted power or boosted attack speed, depending on what weapons you want to take. And he's got pretty solid survivability. He can take completely half reduced damage from elites, monsters, and specials, or he can choose to take 40% damage reduction from charged attacks, which is very nice. Say you take crunch, you can be staggering things a lot. That kind of helps the team out a little bit. Keeps enemies off other people, keeps enemies staggered, lets other people do more damage. So he's got a couple things going for him in that regards. Plus, he kind of acts as a little bit of a tank because he can just leap into hordes and go full aggressive mode. So I have him pretty much smack dab in the middle, B tier. Next up we have Zealot, and Zealot's kind of in a weird place in Vermintide too, because the way he works is he gets more power, more attack speed, or if you want to meme, I guess, movement speed, possibly damage reduction, when he's at lower health. But, things like Stalker's passive healing, Braille Knight's grim healing, these things all give him green health. And I've never really understood why that is. Like, why don't they just make Zealot immune to, like, these benefits? Because no Zealot, no person that really knows how to play Zealot, really wants to play Zealot like this. No person really wants to be, green healed in a map. So why does he get it, I don't know. I've never really understood it. And I think it's basically like he's designed the way he is, but he doesn't really fit super well into the game with the other characters. He can do lots of damage. Of course, he's got great survivability. He can take tons of damage and not go down. As for team support, I don't think he does all that much. But it's also the added factor of, like, he doesn't really work to his maximum potential with other characters a lot of the time. So while I think he could possibly ascend higher, I've got him in B tier. Also in B tier, another Saltspire class, the Bounty Hunter. Now the Bounty Hunter does great monster damage, does, alright kind of elite horde damage. He does most of his work through range, right? His crossbow is capable of one-shotting pretty much anything on Legend, except like a Chaos Warrior, but that's what you have your ult for, no big deal. He can do quite a bit of damage. He's got a little bit of survivability, he can get like 30% after he's killed enough elites or specials, so that's wonderful. Team support I think is lacking outside of monster killing. Most of these characters, they do their team support through doing damage. And, while that's obviously an important thing to do, he has nothing else outside of that. Special killing, monster killing, he has a place and he fits in nicely with other characters a lot of the time. But I don't really think he gets past B tier. Next up in B tier, I've got Unchanged. And I thought about maybe sticking Unchanged in A tier. She can get an incredible amount of melee power, give her the flaming flail and she can absolutely go to town, but I think she's a bit limited in terms of like against gun rats, against fire rats, possibly even assassins, things that can do quick damage to her and build up her overheat bar and make her explode, right? So it's for these reasons you're kind of limited to running the bolt staff if you're really trying to take her very seriously. Your options are pretty much the bolt staff if you want to seriously eliminate the threat of specials. And while that's not a bad option, I think it kind of lowers her damage potential because she can't take like the coruscation staff. She can't really do much with the fireball staff. I mean, God forbid she takes the flamestorm staff. Conflag can be done, but it's still, it just feels a little bit awkward on her. I think the only thing that really makes sense in terms of like, okay, I want to neutralize these specials is the bolt staff, and I think that kind of puts her in a little bit of a box. So even though she can do great damage, she's got the 50% reduced damage because it goes into her overcharge, but I just don't really think she has great survivability. Even with Abandon, she still loses a bunch of her health to avoid exploding. I just feel like she can blow up too easily, if that makes any sense. So her survivability is good, but I don't think it's great. And then her team support is obviously, it's pretty solid. She can give temp health to the entire team. She can make enemies do less damage while they're burning. So there's a number of different things she can do. She has chain reaction, which can kind of stagger hordes here and there, you know, from time to time. So there's a bunch of things she can do. She's higher on the damage and the team support factor, but I think she's just lacking that little bit of survivability that would put her in A tier. The final class in B tier, I have Stalker. And Stalker, of course, you know, if you're running Piercing Shot or something, can do really good damage. She can one-shot Chaos Warriors, and she can kill monsters, and she can do all this stuff. And that's great. She's also good through range. She's got Bloodshot. You know, she's got loaded bow. If you're gonna do that with Bloodshot, she can shoot like these 8 arrows. She can do a lot of damage. I will give her that. She does not have much in the way of survivability, though. She's got her Rejuvenating Locust, which not everybody runs, let's be fair. That also plays into her team support. That's pretty much the only thing she's got going in terms of team support. She can heal everybody up to half health in a kind of slow way. Still, it's nice to have. I don't know that it's that useful, especially when you have classes like Braille Knight that can heal to full. Sister of the Thorn, which can give, you know, added healing, basically a Boon of Shalia effect. I think she's just a little bit outclassed in that department. And then she has very low survivability. She doesn't get any damage reduction. She doesn't get any kind of, I mean, she can get a little bit of mobility going. I don't think she has much in that category. So I have her in B tier. Next on the list is A tier, and the first class I've got up there is the tanky boy Ironbreaker. Now, Ironbreaker is wonderful. He's an awesome class. He's got great survivability. He's got damage reduction. He can take free hits every 20 seconds or 10 seconds, depending on which talent you run, which can just make him an absolute beast of a tank. Really good. He can boost the entire team's power level by up to 30%, which is incredible. That's very useful. He can also taunt hordes and monsters potentially and get them off his teammates. Really nice to have. Where he's lacking, I think, is a little bit in the damage category, but of course he's a tank, so like it's kind of gonna make sense. If you take a Drake gun, he can do pretty good damage to hordes, even some elites, you know. But that's, you know, kind of a big ass because it does take away from his special killing ability, I would say. He can bring the pistol for monster damage, but then he's kind of missing out on horde damage. He can bring the troll hammer again for more monster damage, more elite damage. So he's not completely, you know, amazing in damage, but he's fantastic in team support, and he's fantastic in survivability, which I think puts him kind of in a league above these other classes that might do really good damage, but don't offer anything else in the way of team support or survivability. Also up in A tier, I've got Mercenary, and Mercenary is a fantastic class. He can give the entire team temp health as low as, you know, every minute. He can give himself damage reduction. He can give himself increased power. He can do pretty much everything. He doesn't do, I wouldn't say he does like crazy good damage. He does really good damage. I don't think it's quite on the level of like a Grail Knight or something. But he is very, very good, and I almost put him in S tier, but then I had to kind of think about like, well, he doesn't completely knock it out of the park in damage. He doesn't completely knock it out of the park in terms of survivability. It's really good, but it's not like he's some kind of unkillable guy, you know? But absolutely knocks it out of the park in terms of team support. I mean, the temp health this guy provides is awesome. It allows him to synergize incredibly well with a number of other classes. Mercenary is a great class. A tier for sure. Next up in A tier, I've got the newest class, Sister of the Thorn. And you might be thinking, well, wait a minute, I thought she was OP and could like wreck a monster in 2 seconds and blah blah whatever. Not so much anymore. She got nerfed this morning. They took away a lot of the extra power she could get, some of the extra crit power. She lost some crit chance, but she's still an insanely good character. She can do great damage. She is pretty good on the team support front. She lacks a little bit of damage reduction, or not damage, survivability. She can get obviously other people's temp health, which helps to keep her alive. A great thing to have. She benefits the whole team with the 25% extra healing. Works for both temp health and green health, and that's amazing to have. But I don't think she quite knocks it out of the park in the survivability aspect, which I think limits her to an A tier ceiling now that her damage has also been lowered. Also up in A tier, I've got our guy Footnight. Now Footnight might be a little bit lower on the damage portion of the scale, but of course he can get some now with his new spear and shield weapon. He can hang with most classes. He can get more power, you know, if he staggers a leech, which is pretty easy to do with either the Brett Longsword or that spear and shield. It's really nice. But more than that, he absolutely kills it in the terms of survivability. Not only does he have great mobility from his dash, he has Numb to Pain, which can, it gives him 4 seconds of invulnerability. And then he's got Hero Time, which gives him his ult back pretty much instantly whenever someone either goes down or gets grabbed or something like that. He's got a lot of good stuff going for him. Plus, in terms of team support, he's got Comrades in Arms, which can give the next person closest to him 50% damage reduction and 10% power, or he can go the other way with it and increase his damage reduction aura for everybody and provide block cost reduction. I mean, he kills it in terms of survivability and team support. A bit lacking on the damage front, which I think limits him to an A tier ceiling, but a really good class. Probably one of the more underrated ones if you're going to ask me. I really love Footnight. And our final A tier class today, and maybe this will be a little bit controversial, I don't know, but I've got Shade in A tier. And Shade does absolutely fantastic damage. She kills it in terms of damage. She's got Vanish, which is arguably the strongest talent in the game. Allows her to go invisible for a couple seconds after a backstab. That plays well into her survivability. She's got mobility, survivability, potentially damage reduction based off of what talent you're going to take. She's got ammo sustain if you go for Blood Fletcher. A pretty versatile class that can do a lot. Kills it in terms of damage, kills it in terms of survivability, but where she's lacking heavily is team support. She doesn't do much outside of killing things. In fact, she's not even encouraged to stay with the team so much. She's the kind of class that is supposed to kind of wander off on her own, get behind a horde and attack it kind of by herself. She's a bit of a loner, more of a solo class than anything, which is fine, but she absolutely knocks it out of the park in those two categories, but kind of sucks in the other one, if we're being honest. And I don't think a character that doesn't do at least really good in all three categories deserves S tier. And now we have arrived at S tier, the final tier of this list. And starting off for us today is, in my opinion, a no-brainer. That's Witch Hunter Captain. Not only can he let things be tagged, like elites, specials, monsters, beastmen, archers, anything you can tag really. Not only do those enemies take more damage, 20% by the way, when he's on a team, whether he's dead or alive. He can boost an entire team's crit chance. He can get extra attack speed for himself. If he takes a different ult, he can boost damage as well as crit chance. Or he can give himself guaranteed crits. There's a number of things that he can do. But he really is good in terms of team support. I think he lacks maybe just a little bit in terms of survivability. He's got really good stamina regen. He's got extra dodge range, which can help him out quite nicely. He's got a really good passive where if he gets a headshot on a man-sized enemy, or a crit headshot on a man-sized enemy, they instantly die, which more things than you would think are considered man-sized. Pretty much everything except Chaos Warriors and Bestigors. So that's really good. There's Bannerman, I think, not Bestigors. Someone will correct me. But he can do quite a lot. I think he absolutely slays in terms of damage. I think he absolutely slays in terms of team support. And I think he's got pretty good survivability, even though he doesn't have damage reduction. He's got a knockback ult, and he's got stamina regen, or increased dodge range, So he's got a lot of things going for him. Absolutely. S tier. Next up in S tier, Ranger Veteran. A Ranger Veteran is an excellent class. He absolutely kills it in terms of team support. He can provide temp health for an entire team as well as attack speed. He can, give people ammo, bombs, potions, ale that provides damage reduction and attack speed. He can duplicate bombs for more damage. He can go invisible and move around for, like, I think it was like 6 or 10 seconds or something. Gives him great mobility, gives him stealth. He's got survivability. By the way, he's got damage reduction for 30% from exuberance. So he's got really good survivability, really good team support. And with the Masterwork pistol, he can mess up a monster. He doesn't do fantastic like horde damage through melee or anything, but through range, he can mess up a monster. He can do good against specials and elites. Ranger Veteran is a pretty complete career. Next up in S tier, Braille Knight. I don't think this will surprise anyone to know that Braille Knight is an absolute beast of a class. He does insane amounts of damage, good for both hordes, elites, monsters. Doesn't have a ranged weapon, but it doesn't matter. If you take a shield, you can block warp fire throwers. And when you have a shield up, it's pretty much easy enough to kind of keep specials off of you with a simple push. He's also got his quests. If you manage to get the Grim healing, which is pretty common, on him, it makes the entire run so much easier. It's the ultimate team support buff that you could get, because it can heal anyone up to full health, an entire team. He also can drop strength potions. This guy is the complete package. He's even got some survivability. If he takes damage with Virtue of Stoicism, he gets 50% of the damage he took converted into temp health. If he's got Boonashalia, that's 80% with Sister of the Thorn. And Boonashalia, that's, a little bit more than pretty much the full value of what he took. So yeah, he's got some survivability. He's got increased movement speeds. He's got, mobility. He's really freaking good. Like, he's just a great character. He kills it in terms of damage, kills it in terms of team support, and he's got really good survivability too. I mean, he's just an S tier class for sure. Next up, Battle Wizard. I don't think this surprises anyone either. Absolutely crazy amounts of damage she can get, especially with this new staff. She's good for monsters, she's good for hordes, she's pretty good for elites with certain staffs, depending on what you're running. She's got great survivability. She can get up to 30% damage reduction just from her talents alone, and keep that constantly going. She can stagger things with the fire sword, make really nice temp health. That's excellent. She's got a dash, her double dash, which I think is the best one, which covers an insane amount of ground. So, I mean, that's just crazy mobility there. As far as team support goes, she can kind of knock things over. She's able to stun lock a monster with a potion. So there's some things she can do. She doesn't necessarily buff the team very much, but she kills it in terms of damage reduction. He kills it in terms of damage output. He kills it in terms of mobility, and I think those things are high enough that even though she doesn't have a crazy amount of team support, that she can, comfortably claim her throne in the S tier. Which brings us to the final class of the game, in my personal opinion, the best class in the game, and that's Handmaiden. The Handmaiden does really good damage. She's got good damage talent. She can get increased power, possibly increased, power and attack speed, depending on what talent you want to run. He has the Moonfire Bow, which, I mean, a class like this is absolutely insane. As far as survivability goes, she's got mobility, she's got invisibility, she can take a shield weapon, she's got stamina regen, which also plays into her team support role because she can double everyone's stamina regen rate, everyone that's close to her, which makes her a really nice character to have, almost a necessity for people that like to play more aggressively and do lots of push attacks and stuff like that. Short cooldown on the ult, not to mention, she can do it all. A fantastic solo class, a fantastic team class, and that is really what the best class is all about in Vermintide 2, is being able to do it all. Solo, team, damage, defense, mobility, everything. So that's my list, guys. I hope you liked it. In S tier, I had Witch Hunter Captain, Ranger Veteran, Braille Knight, Battle Wizard, and Handmaiden. In A tier, I had Ironbreaker, Mercenary, Footnight, Sister of the Thorn, and Shade. B tier, I had Zealot, Slayer, Bounty Hunter, Unchained, and Stalker. Down in C tier, I had Engineer, Outcast Engineer, Huntsman, and then down in D tier, I had Pyromancer. These are, in my opinion, the best careers in Vermintide 2. Ranked. If you guys like this video, consider subscribing to this channel, liking this video, possibly join my Discord, link will be in the description down below. And hey, maybe leave a comment if you like. Tell me what you like about Vermintide, the best classes in your opinion. You can do a whole ranking if you want, but let me know what you think I got wrong and what you think I got right. Looking forward to hearing from you guys.